Hi, struggles become wisdom. Why is that? Why does a struggle become wisdom and not knowledge? Aha, because there is a difference. There really is a difference. When you understand something, when you get information or facts, you have knowledge. When you go through something that helps you to think in a different way and be able to pull things apart and really grasp what is going on and be able to turn the box upside down and read it, whatever it takes to look at things from a different angle, all the time, never just straight on. 2 and 2 is 4. That's knowledge. We know that 2 and 2 is 4. Wisdom is when I tell you that when you walk to the top of that mountain, all the things that you see on the way up, every slip that you make, every opportunity that you have to interact with something from nature, be it a flower or an insect, will change how you feel inside, will make you glow in a different way, put you in a state of calm and peace. You'll detach your mind from the other things that are going on in the world at the time, and you'll be a different person when you reach the top. And when you look out over all of what you've done, you'll feel differently about yourself. Proud of yourself, of course, but differently. You'll think differently. You'll feel differently. It's not just a fact. It's wisdom. Now let's take a look at that mountain. There's lots of ways to go up that mountain, just as there's lots of ways in life to find wisdom. One of my favorite, one of my favorite is what I used to call coal black eyes. The little children, I taught so many children in Mexico. When I was working on my doctorate, we lived in an indigenous village, and there were these just gorgeous children with coal black eyes. And they would look at me, and the things they said would just shock me and surprise me and motivate me and intrigue me and teach me. You can always learn from children. There is no question about that. I mean, that saying, I learned all I ever needed to know in kindergarten. Well, there's a lot of truth to that, because children look at the world in a different way. And when they ask you a question, sometimes it's just because you think, isn't that obvious? But of course, they're children. They haven't learned yet. But the way they ask the question often sets you off in another direction. And it's an absolute delight. I love being with children. Another way to learn, dogs. Oh, gosh, my dogs. I just have to tell you, I lived a teeny portion of my life without a dog. And I really missed that interaction. The dog, they read a great deal with their nose. That's, how they track things and so forth. And they read emotion. Boy, they can, they can really read emotion. And they teach you in a way that's so different. They don't use words, and they don't necessarily use actions. It's the way they look at you and the way they respond to you, and wow, you can learn a lot from dogs. Now, let's talk about horses. What do you get from horses? Well, the first knowledge that you get from a horse is don't stand behind it. That's a really important rule. Do not stand behind a horse, because if they kick, it could be all over. I mean, that could be the last kick you ever get in your face, I can tell you, or your chest, or your knee, or your leg. Horses are extremely strong. They're extremely large. Even the small horses in Mexico are still large. But a horse, and they're not exceptionally, I'm not going to say bright, but they're kind of scaredy cats. Some horses are so frightened of water, they just absolutely will not walk through it. I mean, they just will not walk through it. And they have to be trained that it's okay and that they'll be all right. And some horses will not drink if you take them to water, but if they go to the water by themselves, they will. I mean, there's just so many things about horses that are so incredible. What I really love about horses is when you wrap your legs around the middle of them and you're sitting on them. And whether you have a saddle or not, your thighs can still engage with the horse. And of course, your feet always engage underneath the horse with the belly. And that's how you control the horse. You think it's the reins, if you've never ridden horses. My first experience was at 6 weeks. Of course, I don't remember being 6 weeks old, but I had a picture that is vanished now. I think my daughter has it. My father was holding me in his arms, and he was on the horse. And he and I were in such a good place. Yeah, it was really, really special. It was on the farm I was born on in Roswell, New Mexico. 1947, he called me his little alien because he did see what was on the ground, and that's another story. But yes, my father did. It was not a weather balloon, I'll tell you that. But anyway, horses teach us in a different way. But, a butterfly can teach us something if you pay attention. Ants, oh man, track ants when they're off busy in a road doing things. You can't believe what you might see. You may be startled at the things they pick and the things they eat and the places they go and the things they build. You're just amazed. I used to keep a lot of rabbits, and I've kept geese and ducks and gecko and boy, you name it. I've really had a lot. I even had an owl. We'll talk about that later too. There are so many opportunities to nurture in life. And you always gain wisdom from nurturing, because nurturing isn't about, give this person an aspirin. No, that's just following an instruction. You have the knowledge that you're supposed to give them an aspirin at a certain time, and you do it. That's not nurturing. That's an action. Nurturing is a feeling. It's about stroking and making sure the glass isn't too full when you offer it to the lips of someone who is lying down and they don't really want the whole front of their shirt full of whatever is in the glass. And nurturing, you can learn a lot. Oh, I wish I'd had more time with an old person and learned from another person and from the old person how to nurture and care for an older person. Because here I am now and I'm just stumbling along. But it's like a very good example is children don't come with an instruction book. They just pop out and there you are. So you have to really pay attention when you become a parent to what is needed by the infant and what you can do to satisfy those needs. And that's where the mother's wisdom comes from. There's also mother's instinct. Don't get me wrong on that. Mothers have instinct. There's no question about it. Absolutely no question about it. But we also have a willingness, a desire to nurture the child. In fact, if a child in the first 3 years of life is not fed appropriate food and given appropriate nurturing, touching, holding close to your chest, feeling your heart, hearing your heartbeat, close to your body so that they have the warmth and understanding, and they don't thrive. Actually, a child can just give up and die. It's an infant. The first 3 years is so incredibly important. And if you are paying attention, you'll gain knowledge from other people, how to put a diaper on, how to hold a bottle, how to put your breast in the baby's mouth the correct way, how to know the baby's had enough to eat, how to burp the baby. Those are all knowledge. But there will come a time when you put the baby up to burp and you'll recognize that that baby burps in a certain way. It's different than another baby's burp. And that baby needs to burp a number of times that another baby doesn't. I mean, it's really odd, but you'll begin to recognize, you'll gain the wisdom of taking care of that child. You'll learn how to hold in a way that the child likes, in a way that you can control the child. Now, the other thing that happens is over a period of time, the child grows, and you've got to then understand that you need to hold the child differently and maybe hold tightly to the leg, a thigh especially, so the child doesn't wiggle away. And so constantly in our lives, we can gain knowledge from good things that happen and from bad things that happen. If someone takes advantage of you, someone's a bully, or someone in some way or another sabotages you or causes you pain, or you lose money or reputation or whatever it is, as you look back on all the different interactions that took place, more than likely you will see a pattern that you can look for later in life. And you will have gained wisdom in how to interact with other people. You'll fool me once is one thing, but fool me twice, it's my fault. Something to that effect. But I've discovered that almost every negative thing that's ever happened to me has been a blessing in disguise, because I've learned something. I've learned about human behavior. I've learned about finances. I've learned about real estate. I've learned about swindling. I've learned about fraud. I've learned about how to recognize a lie and how to seek the truth. I've learned about what I need to watch out for me. I've also often learned about how I can recognize what I should do for other people, because just giving doesn't help the person. You have to know at what level to give and what to give, so that you don't create planned helplessness where they just expect somebody else to take care of them always, instead of recognizing goals of their own and going after those goals and just leaning on you from time to time to get through to the goals. Life is really complicated, but it seems to me that always the worst things that happen in my life teach me the best lessons for the future. Not always, but usually. And if we can look at it that way, if we can focus our mind on the fact that negative interventions in our lives result in wisdom, it helps us to overcome the urge for vengeance, the urge for any kind of revenge, the urge to feel bitter, the urge to want to overcome that problem or show the world that you can be the winner. None of that helps you, really. Doesn't help the other person either. It just makes them more angry, and then you're dealing with that on top of everything else. No, if you can control yourself, if you can recognize what happened, why it happened, what red flags you missed, what kinds of things you could look at different, what questions you might have asked, who you might have checked with to make sure that you weren't in a poor position, how to confirm that this wasn't a gift from God or whatever, a gift from the universe or a gift from someone. So often when we want something so desperately, we think it's a gift, and it's not. It's a Trojan horse. And when we lift the horse off, we see all the soldiers underneath ready to attack us. And that doesn't do us any good. So the idea is you can gain knowledge from a book. You can gain knowledge from a lecture. You can gain knowledge from learning how to write well and practicing and have the ability to make the cursive correct. But if you want wisdom, then it's another thing. You have to learn how to think for yourself from the different facts that you've taken in and the overall appreciation for the human behavior that made the situation go in the way direction it did, and how to avoid that in the future. And it's not always just humans. It could also involve other live things like animals or fish or whatever. It depends on what kind of business or activity you had gotten involved in that ended up causing you the distress that you learned from. But I advise you to always remember that all those bad things can be gifts in disguise. And that is the absolute truth. If you don't know those things, if you don't have that wisdom, you're liable to get into the same position again. And the other thing is, once you gain that wisdom, share it. I mean, the other person is what they're going to get from you is direction and facts, knowledge. But they are going to have to process it in order for it to be wisdom for them. But at least it gives them a starting point, the end of the diving board. They get that from you. And that's really, really important, because without that, without passing that on, you set them up for the same kind of bullying or fraud or scam that you got involved in. Because when people discover that they have some kind of way of manipulating and overpowering other people, they're going to continue to do it until somebody stops them. And that's why you have to counter that with sharing it with others. And I wouldn't be afraid to do that, because as long as you're telling the truth, there should be no problem. I mean, people may get angry with you, but if it's true, then you say to them, what I've just said is true. Now you can go to the other person and prove that I'm wrong, but you won't, because what I told you was true. And that's another thing too. Wisdom teaches you that truth is the right direction to go in. When you, I mean, the word manipulation is very often misunderstood. It can be something positive. Let's say I have a plant, a tree that's growing, and I take off a branch and I wire another branch to go in the direction that would be better for the balance of the tree. Now I have manipulated the tree by tying it off in a certain way, but I've done it for its own good. And now we have to be careful about that, though. We say that sometimes to children, and it's the worst thing we could possibly say, because maybe it wasn't for their own good. It could have been, but it probably would have been better if we had taught them what they needed to know, especially by them watching us, how we do it in our lives. Children respond to what they see much more quickly than to what they're told. So if you can teach through visual activities, you're going to be so much better off with kids. And they will hold it and grasp it. And then in them, it becomes wisdom. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for passing on what we've gathered, the knowledge that we've converted to wisdom, passing it on to others, and helping them have a better life. If you have any questions for me, just put them down in the descriptions. I'll get them and I'll answer them. And while you're down there, check out Summerland. It's a nonprofit I've run for 34 years. 2 of us are artists, and our work represents ways of reminding you to be honoring nature, be respectful of nature, be concerned about nature, because we need to do that to help the future of the kids we're talking about. I want to thank you for being here today.